The silence in the classroom was complete. Every student stared at the Reshtak as it cowered in its containment field. The creature that was supposed to terrify them was terrified itself, and the source of its fear was standing calmly in the back row, a human girl in a simple academy uniform. Velthar looked between Jiwoo and the Reshtak. His crystalline body shifted through several colors rapidly, which meant he was experiencing intense confusion. "This is impossible," he said. "The Reshtak is sedated. Its fear response should be suppressed. Guards, check the sedation levels." One of the guards checked his equipment. "Sedation is at full strength, instructor. The creature should be calm, but its bio readings show extreme stress. Heart rate is elevated. Chemical markers indicate primal fear." The guard looked at Jiwoo with confusion. "It is reacting to her." Jiwoo remained standing. She kept her posture relaxed but her gaze steady. She was not trying to intimidate the creature. She was simply observing it the way she had observed predators back home in the Korean wilderness. Patient, calm, aware. Taemin stood up beside her. "Maybe we should sit down," he suggested quietly. But before Jiwoo could respond, the Reshtak spoke again. Its telepathic voice filled the room through the translator. The words came in fragments like pieces of an ancient memory. "I know what you are. My ancestors knew. The stories are in our blood. The warning is in our genes." "What stories?" Velthar demanded. "What are you talking about?" The Reshtak's 6 eyes remained locked on Jiwoo. "The hunter that never stops. The predator that does not need claws or venom. The killer that uses time itself as a weapon. You run and it follows. You hide and it finds you. You fight and it outlasts you. It does not chase with speed. It chases with patience, and patience always wins." A murmur went through the remaining students. Bora's bioluminescent skin pulsed with waves of confusion and fear. She turned to look at the humans with new eyes. "Is this true?" she asked. "Are humans persistence hunters?" Taemin took a breath. He had studied this in school, but he had never thought about it from an alien perspective. "Yes," he said simply. "Humans evolved as persistence hunters. On Earth, our ancestors would chase prey for hours, sometimes for an entire day. The prey would run fast, but humans would just keep walking, keep jogging, never stopping. Eventually, the prey would collapse from exhaustion, and the humans would catch up." The classroom erupted in shocked whispers. Some students moved away from the human section. Others leaned forward with morbid curiosity. Velthar held up his arms for silence. "That is primitive hunting behavior," he said dismissively. "Many species have predatory pasts. It means nothing now." But the Reshtak made a sound like a bitter laugh. "You do not understand, teacher. My kind evolved on a death world. We survived extinction events. We conquered our planet. We have no natural predators. But even we know the terror of the persistence hunter. It is not primitive. It is the most advanced form of predation in existence." The creature shifted in its container, trying to put more distance between itself and Jiwoo. "Speed can be countered with speed. Strength can be countered with strength. Venom can be resisted. Claws can be avoided. But endurance, patience, there is no counter. The persistence hunter does not need to be faster. It just needs to be inevitable." Hirin, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. Her voice was small but clear. "My grandmother told me stories about the old hunters. They would track an antelope across the savannah under the hot sun. The antelope could run at 60 kilometers per hour. Humans can only run at 15. But the antelope would overheat after a few minutes and have to stop. Humans could run for hours without stopping. They would just keep coming, keep following the tracks. The antelope would run again and again until its heart gave out." She paused and looked at the Reshtak. "My grandmother said it was not cruel. It was survival. Our ancestors did not have claws or fangs. They had intelligence and endurance. They used what they had." The Reshtak's scales rippled with what looked like acknowledgement. "Yes, you understand. That is what makes your species so terrifying. You do not hunt with anger. You hunt with purpose, cold, calculated, patient." Bora turned to Velthar. "Instructor, I think we need to understand this better. The Galactic database says humans are Class 4, barely space-capable. But if they are persistence hunters from a death world, should they not be classified differently?" Velthar looked troubled. His colors kept shifting. "The classification is based on technology and cultural development, not biological traits." Taemin stepped forward. He activated the classroom's holographic display with permission from Velthar. "Let me show you something," he said. Images appeared in the air. Wide savannas, dense forests, frozen tundras. This is Earth. It looks peaceful, but it is classified as a death world. Extreme temperature variations. Mega predators. Natural disasters. Diseases. Humans evolved in one of the most hostile environments in the known galaxy. He changed the image to show a human running. Humans are the only species that can regulate body temperature through sweating. This allows them to run in heat that would kill most predators. They have spring-like tendons in their legs for efficiency. Their breathing is separate from their stride, unlike most animals. They were designed by evolution to run forever. Another image appeared, an ultra-marathon runner. This human ran 160 kilometers without stopping. For fun, humans do this as a sport. They call it entertainment. Gasps and shocked murmurs filled the room. A feathered student stood up. That is not possible. No biological creature can do that without dying. Taman shook his head. It is documented, verified. Humans regularly run marathons, 42 kilometers. Some run ultramarathons, 100 kilometers or more. There are recorded cases of humans running for 24 hours straight. And these are not soldiers or hunters. These are ordinary civilians. He showed another image. Rescue workers digging through rubble. After disasters, human rescue workers will search for survivors for 72 hours without sleep. Their bodies have stress hormones that allow them to push past normal limitations. They call it adrenaline. It lets them perform feats that seem impossible. The Reshtok spoke again, its voice heavy with old knowledge. On my world, there are legends. Stories passed down for 10,000 generations of a hunter that came from the dark between stars. It had no scales, no claws, no venom, but it could not be escaped. Our ancestors fought it for 100 years. They tried to hide in the deep caves. The hunter followed. They tried to flee to the frozen poles. The hunter followed. They tried to fight it. The hunter endured. The creature's voice dropped to a whisper. It took a century, but the hunter killed nearly all of my ancestors. Only those who learned to hide perfectly survived. The hunter eventually died, not from battle, but from old age. But the memory remained. The fear remained, encoded in our genes, passed down through our blood. When I look at her, I see that hunter. I see death that walks on two legs. Jiwoo finally spoke. Her voice was quiet, but everyone heard her. I am not here to hunt you. I am here to learn. Humans chose to stop hunting. We chose cooperation over predation. We chose peace. The Reshtok's eyes studied her. But the hunter is still there. Inside you. I can see it, patient, watching, waiting. Jiwoo nodded slowly. Yes, it is still there. Evolution does not disappear in a few generations. But we control it. We choose what we do with it. The creature was silent for a long moment. Then it said something that changed everything. That makes you more dangerous, not less. A mindless predator can be predicted, but a thinking predator that chooses when to hunt, that is true terror. Velthar looked at his human students with new understanding, and perhaps for the first time with respect. The lesson about fear had taught him something he never expected. That sometimes the greatest predators are the ones who do not look dangerous at all. Another student stood up. This was a Varen, one of the armored warrior species. I have a question for all of you. The galaxy has been mostly peaceful for centuries, but there are still pirates, criminals, and hostile forces. Would humans fight if necessary? Taman answered this one. Yes, humans will fight to protect others, but fighting is always our last choice, never our first. We prefer diplomacy, negotiation, and peaceful solutions. But if those fail and innocent lives are at stake, then yes, humans will fight. And we will be very good at it because we have the endurance to outlast any opponent. The Varen nodded with respect. That is a good answer. A warrior who prefers peace is wiser than a warrior who seeks glory. The lecture continued for another hour. Students asked questions. The humans and the Reshtok answered honestly. Velthar facilitated the discussion with newfound wisdom. And slowly, understanding spread through the room. After the lecture ended, Jiwoo walked through the academy gardens with Taimin and Hyerin. It was evening and the artificial sky above them showed constellations from dozens of different homeworlds. Students from various species greeted them warmly as they passed. Some stopped to chat. Some thanked them for the lecture. Some just smiled and waved. Hyerin looked around with wonder. This is so different from when we first arrived. Do you remember? People avoided us. They whispered about us. Some were afraid of us. Taimin put his arm around her shoulders. Fear comes from ignorance. Once people understood us, the fear disappeared. Jiwoo stopped walking and looked up at the stars. Each point of light represented a world. Each world held life. Each life had value. I am proud to be human, she said quietly. Not because we are predators or because we are strong, but because we chose to be better than what evolution made us. We chose cooperation over competition. We chose understanding over fear. We chose peace over violence, Taemin nodded. And the galaxy is better for having us in it. Not because we are perfect, but because we try. We mess up sometimes. We make mistakes. But we learn from them and we keep trying to be better. Hirin smiled. Grandmother used to say that the mark of wisdom is not never falling, but always getting back up. Humanity has fallen many times in our history, but we always got back up. Bora joined them, her skin glowing with warm, friendly colors. I overheard what you were saying. I want you to know that I am glad you are here. All three of you. You have taught this academy more in a few weeks than some students learn in years. You have taught us that strength is not just about physical power. It is about moral courage, about choosing the right path even when the easy path is available. More students gathered around them. Word had spread about the informal discussion in the gardens. Soon there were dozens of students from dozens of species, all wanting to talk, to share, to connect. Jiwoo found herself answering questions about Earth, about human culture, about what it was like growing up on a death world. Taemin told stories about human cooperation, about how entire communities would come together after disasters to rebuild. Hirin explained human mathematics and was amazed to learn that other species had completely different mathematical systems based on their unique ways of perceiving reality. As the evening stretched on and more stars appeared in the artificial sky, Jiwoo realized something important. They were not just three humans at an alien academy anymore. They were bridges, connections between Earth and the galaxy, representatives of humanity's potential. And that was a responsibility she was ready to embrace. The galaxy had feared what humans were. Now they respected what humans chose to be. And that respect was built on understanding, honesty, and the simple truth that everyone, regardless of species, had the power to choose who they wanted to become. Jiwoo looked at her friends, both human and alien, and smiled. The future was bright. The galaxy was vast, and humanity had earned its place among the stars not through conquest or domination, but through compassion, resilience, and the courage to be vulnerable enough to be understood. Somewhere in the xenobiology lab, the Reshtak rested peacefully, no longer afraid of the persistence hunter from Earth. Instead, it considered her a friend. And that friendship, that mutual respect between two apex predators from different worlds, symbolized everything the Galactic Council hoped to achieve: unity through understanding, peace through respect, progress through cooperation. These were not just ideals. They were reality, made possible by beings from countless worlds choosing to see past their differences and embrace their shared future among the stars. 3 weeks passed. Life at the Galactic Academy slowly returned to normal, but it was a different kind of normal. The humans were no longer outsiders looking in. They had become part of the community in a real way. Students who had avoided them before now sought them out. Not from fear, but from genuine curiosity and friendship. Jiwoo found herself invited to study groups. Taemin was asked to give talks about human psychology and cooperation. Hirin helped alien students with their mathematics homework and discovered she had a gift for teaching. The three of them were busy, but it was a good kind of busy. The biggest change came in instructor Velthar's class. The intimidating professor had undergone a transformation of his own. He approached the three humans one day after class with what looked like humility in his crystalline features. "I owe you an apology," he said directly. "I judged your species based on limited information and preconceived ideas." "That was wrong." Jiwoo shook her head. "You were teaching us about fear. You just did not expect the lesson to work out the way it did." Velthar's colors shifted. Embarrassment in his species. "Indeed. But the lesson I learned was more valuable than the one I intended to teach. I have a proposal for you. Would you be willing to co-teach a lecture with me, and perhaps with our friend the Reshtak as well?" Taemin looked interested. "What kind of lecture?" "A lecture on predator evolution and the psychology of choice," Velthar explained. "I want students to understand that having predatory instincts does not make a species dangerous. What matters is how those instincts are channeled. You three are living proof of that concept. Jiwoo exchanged glances with her friends. Yirin nodded encouragingly. Taemin gave a small smile. We would be honored, Jiwoo said. And so, 2 days later, the auditorium was full again. But this time it was not fear that filled the room. It was curiosity and eagerness to learn. Velthar stood on the stage with Jiwoo, Taemin, and Yirin beside him. In a specially designed containment viewing area, the Reshtak waited. The creature looked calm and alert. Today's lecture, Velthar began, is about evolution, instinct, and the power of choice. We often assume that our evolutionary history defines us. But our human colleagues and our friend the Reshtak have taught me something important. We are not prisoners of our biology. Taemin took over, his voice clear and confident. Humans evolved as persistence hunters. This is fact. Our bodies are designed for endurance. Our psychology is shaped by patience and focus. These traits helped our ancestors survive on a dangerous world. But evolution only determines capacity, not destiny. We chose what to do with those capacities. Yirin activated a holographic display. Let me show you something interesting. These are brain scans of humans in different situations. This is a human tracking prey in a simulation. See these areas light up? These are the same areas that activate when a human solves a complex puzzle, or tracks a difficult problem through research, or follows clues in a mystery. She switched the image. The hunting instinct did not disappear. It transformed. Modern humans channel it into science, art, exploration, and problem-solving. We still have the drive to track and pursue. But now we pursue knowledge instead of prey. We hunt for cures to diseases. We track down solutions to engineering challenges. We pursue justice and truth. The Reshtak's voice came through the translator addressing the audience directly. I am a predator from a death world. My instincts tell me to hunt, to dominate, to destroy threats. But I am also intelligent. I can choose to override those instincts. I work here as an educator because I chose to use my understanding of predation to teach rather than to kill. The creature moved closer to the transparent barrier. When I first saw Jiwoo, my ancestral memory screamed danger. Everything in my DNA told me to flee. But she did nothing threatening. She simply observed me with the calm patience of a fellow predator. And in that moment I had to choose, react with instinct or respond with intelligence. I chose badly at first. I let fear control me. But I learned. Jiwoo stepped forward. She spoke simply and honestly. I am not ashamed of being a predator. My ancestors needed those skills to survive. They used patience and endurance to feed their families. They used intelligence to outsmart dangerous animals. They used cooperation to achieve what individuals could not. Those same traits now help humans in peaceful ways. She gestured to the diverse audience. Every species here has evolutionary history. Some of you evolved from prey animals and have strong flight responses. Some evolved as scavengers and have incredible adaptability. Some evolved in oceans and have natural cooperation skills. None of these histories make you weak or strong, good or evil. They are just starting points. What matters is what you choose to do with what evolution gave you. Bora raised her hand from the audience. Her bioluminescent skin glowed with curiosity. Jiwoo, when you look at us now, do you still see prey? It was a bold question, and the auditorium went silent. Jiwoo considered it carefully before answering. No, she said firmly. I see friends. I see colleagues. I see people I care about. The predator instinct is about survival, but I am not struggling to survive here. I am learning, growing, and building relationships. Those are different contexts that activate different parts of my brain. Context matters as much as instinct, she smiled. But if you were in danger and needed help, then yes, the predator instinct would activate. Not to hunt you, but to hunt whatever threatened you. That is what humans do. We protect what we care about with the same intensity our ancestors used for hunting. It is the same drive, just redirected toward a better purpose. That evening, Jiwoo stood alone on one of the Academy's observation decks. The deck was a massive transparent dome that looked out into space. Stars stretched in every direction, more stars than anyone could count. Each one was a sun, and many had worlds orbiting them. Worlds with life, worlds with civilizations. It was beautiful and overwhelming at the same time. She heard footsteps behind her and knew without turning that it was Taemin. He always walked with a distinctive rhythm. He came to stand beside her, looking out at the stars. For a while, neither of them spoke. Sometimes silence was more comfortable than words. Finally, Taemin broke the quiet. How are you feeling about everything? Jiwoo thought about her answer. Confused, she said honestly. I did not mean to scare the Reshtok. I was just observing it the way I observed animals back home. I was curious. I wanted to understand it, Taemin nodded. I know, but that is exactly what scared it, I think. You looked at it the way a predator looks at prey. Calm, patient, measuring. The Reshtok recognized that gaze because its own species uses it. When it saw that same look in your eyes, it understood what you were. Jiwoo turned to look at him. Do you think I am a monster? The question hung in the air between them. Taemin met her eyes directly. No, I think you are human. And being human means carrying both the hunter and the protector inside you. We all do. Every human has that duality. The question is which one we choose to act on. She looked back at the stars. My grandmother used to take me trekking in the mountains. We would follow leopards and bears, staying far enough back that they never knew we were there. She taught me to read their footprints, to understand their behavior, to predict where they would go. She said our ancestors survived because they understood predators better than the predators understood themselves. Jiwoo smiled at the memory. But she also taught me that predators are not evil. They are necessary. They keep ecosystems balanced. They remove the sick and weak, making the prey population stronger. They are part of the natural order. She said humans were predators too, but that we had a choice about what kind of predators to be. Taemin considered this. Your grandmother sounds wise. She was, Jiwoo agreed. She said the same instincts that made our ancestors good hunters also made them good parents. Patience to wait for the right moment, focus to track what matters, endurance to protect the family through hard times. The traits are not good or evil. They are just tools. What matters is how we use them. They stood in comfortable silence again. Then Taemin said quietly, I was scared too, you know, when the Reshtok reacted to you. For a moment I wondered if the galaxy was right to fear us, if maybe we should not be here. Jiwoo turned to him with concern. And now? Now I think we are exactly where we need to be. The galaxy is full of species that evolved from prey animals. They are cautious. They avoid conflict. They build consensus. Those are good traits. But sometimes the galaxy needs predators too, not to hunt, but to stand between the innocent and the dangerous, to be willing to face threats that others cannot. Jiwoo smiled. You sound like you have been thinking about this a lot. I have, Taemin admitted. After the assembly, I did some research. Do you know how many times humans have been called to help with rescue operations since joining the Council? 47 times. Natural disasters, mining accidents, ship crashes, places where others could not go because of extreme conditions. But humans went, and we saved thousands of lives. He pulled up data on his personal device and showed her. Last year there was a mining accident on Telvar 6. The mines collapsed and trapped 200 workers deep underground. The rescue teams could not reach them because of the heat and toxic gases. They were about to give up. Then the human rescue team arrived. The display showed images of human workers in protective suits, working in conditions that looked impossible. The humans worked for 60 hours straight. No breaks, no sleep. They dug through collapsed tunnels, carried out injured miners, stabilized unstable sections. Other species would have died from exhaustion. But humans just kept working. They saved 183 of the 200 trapped miners. Jiwoo felt a surge of pride. I did not know about that. Most people do not, Taemin said. Humans do not brag about this stuff. We just do it. But this is what I mean. The same endurance that made us persistence hunters also makes us incredible rescuers. The same patience that helped us track prey helps us solve complex problems. The same focus that made us dangerous makes us reliable. Before Jiwoo could respond, her communication device chimed. She looked at it and her eyes widened. It is a message from the xenobiology lab. The Reshtok wants to speak with me. Taemin looked surprised. Really? Are you going to go? Jiwoo thought for only a moment. Yes, I think I should. 20 minutes later, Jiwoo walked into the xenobiology lab. It was late evening and most of the staff had gone home. Only a few security personnel remained. They led her to a private viewing room. On the other side of a transparent barrier was the Reshtok. The creature looked different than it had in the classroom. It seemed calmer, more composed. When it saw Jiwoo enter, it approached the barrier slowly. The telepathic translator activated. The Reshtok's voice came through clearly. Thank you for coming. I was not certain you would. Jiwoo stood a few meters from the barrier. I wanted to come. I am sorry for scaring you yesterday. It was not intentional. The Reshtak's scales rippled in what might have been amusement. Do not apologize. You did nothing wrong. My fear was instinctual, not rational. I reacted to genetic memory, to ancestral warnings encoded in my DNA. But I have had time to think since then. And I realized my fear was not fear of you. It was respect. Jiwoo tilted her head. Respect? Yes, the Reshtak said. In nature, fear and respect are often the same thing. A prey animal fears a predator, but it also respects it. It recognizes the predator's power and adapts accordingly. But what I felt from you was different. You looked at me not as prey to be hunted, but as another thinking being to be understood. That is why I asked to speak with you. The creature settled into a more comfortable position. On my world, we have a saying, to know your nature is wisdom. To transcend your nature is enlightenment. You are a predator, yes, but you have transcended that nature. You have chosen to be more than what evolution made you. That is worthy of respect. Jiwoo felt something shift inside her. This creature, this apex predator from a death world, understood something that many others did not. She moved closer to the barrier. My people have a saying too. We say that the strongest warrior is not the one who wins every battle, but the one who prevents battles from happening. We chose to stop hunting because we realized cooperation was stronger than competition. The Reshtak's 6 eyes studied her. Do you ever miss it? The hunt? Jiwoo considered the question honestly. Sometimes. When I tracked animals in the mountains with my grandmother, there was a clarity to it, a purpose, a connection to my ancestors. But I do not miss the killing. I prefer using those same skills to understand and protect rather than to hunt and destroy. Then we are similar. The Reshtak said, I'm kept here not as a prisoner but as an educator. I teach other species about predator behavior. I help them understand danger so they can protect themselves. I have chosen to use my nature to educate rather than to kill. Perhaps that makes us kin in a way. Two predators who chose a different path. Jiwoo smiled. I would like that. To be kin. The Reshtak made a sound that the translator interpreted as pleased. Then let us make an agreement. I will help teach the galaxy about humans. I will explain what persistence hunters are and why they should be respected, not feared. And in return, perhaps you could visit sometimes. I find your presence interesting, now that I understand it better. I will visit, Jiwoo promised. We can share stories about our worlds, about evolution and choice and what it means to be more than our instincts. The Reshtak bowed its head slightly. It was a gesture of respect between equals. Jiwoo bowed her head in return. Two apex predators, separated by biology and homeworld, connected by mutual understanding. As Jiwoo left the lab and walked back through the quiet corridors of the academy, she felt lighter. The weight of fear and judgment that had pressed on her since the incident was gone. She knew now that being human, being a predator who chose peace, was not something to be ashamed of. It was something to be proud of. And the galaxy was beginning to understand that too. The news spread through the Galactic Academy like wildfire. Within hours, everyone knew about what happened in Velthar's classroom. Security footage of the Reshtak backing away from Jiwoo was shared across hundreds of worlds. Scientists analyzed it. Military strategists studied it. Philosophers debated it. And everywhere, beings asked the same question. What are humans, really? Jiwoo, Taemin, and Hirin found themselves suddenly famous. But it was not comfortable fame. As they walked through the academy corridors the next day, other students moved out of their way. Some stared with fear. Others looked at them with new respect. But the casual friendship from before was gone. Bora found them in the cafeteria during lunch. Her bioluminescent skin flickered nervously as she sat down across from Jiwoo. I am still your friend, she said immediately. I want you to know that. But I also want you to know that I am scared. Not of you personally, but of what you represent. Jiwoo set down her food tray. I understand. I would be scared too if I learned my friend was a predator. Bora shook her head quickly. It is not just that. My people are empathic. We feel emotions. Yesterday when you stood up, I felt something from you. It was not anger or aggression. It was worse. It was patience. Pure endless patience. Like you could wait forever for whatever you wanted. That is what scared me. Taemin leaned forward. Bora, we are not going to hurt anyone. Humans evolved past that. We have laws, ethics, morality. We chose civilization. Bora's skin pulsed with conflicting colors. I know, but the galaxy is having trouble understanding that. There is an emergency council meeting happening right now. They are debating whether humans should be reclassified. Reclassified as what? Hyarin asked quietly. As a potential threat species, Bora said. There are hundreds of species in the Galactic Council. Most evolved from prey animals. Herbivores, scavengers, filter feeders. Only a few evolved from predators, and most of those were ambush hunters. But persistence hunters? Endurance predators? There are no records of any spacefaring species with that background. She gestured around the cafeteria. Most species here evolved intelligence to avoid predators. Humans evolved intelligence to become better predators. That is fundamentally different. The Council does not know what to do with that information. The three humans sat in silence for a moment. Finally, Jiwoo spoke. So what happens now? Before Bora could answer, a message appeared on everyone's communication devices. It was from the Academy Administration. All students were invited to attend a special assembly in the main auditorium. Attendance was optional, but the topic was listed as Human Evolution and Galactic Safety. Taemin sighed. I guess we are about to find out. The main auditorium was massive. It could hold 10,000 students and was designed to accommodate species of all different sizes and environmental needs. When the humans entered, they felt thousands of eyes turn to look at them. The whispers started immediately. Jiwoo kept her head high and walked to a seat near the middle. Taemin and Hierin followed her. Bora stayed with them, and Jiwoo was grateful for that small show of solidarity. On the stage, several council representatives stood waiting. Jiwoo recognized some of them from orientation. There was Ambassador Kelvan from the Therex Collective, a large, peaceful species that looked like walking trees. There was High Scholar Vexel from the Silicon Consortium, a crystalline being that communicated through light patterns. And there was Grand Admiral Thule from the Varan Empire, a military species with forearms and natural body armor. Ambassador Kelvan spoke first. His voice was deep and resonant like wind through branches. Students of the Galactic Academy, we are here to address concerns that have arisen regarding our human members. Yesterday's incident has raised questions about how we classify and understand different species. We want to be transparent about these discussions. High Scholar Vexel's light patterns translated into words. The Council has reviewed Earth's evolutionary history. We have studied human biology, psychology, and social development. We have consulted with xenobiologists, anthropologists, and historians. What we have learned is both fascinating and troubling. A holographic display appeared above the stage. It showed Earth rotating slowly. Then the image zoomed in to show different environments. Scorching deserts, frozen Arctic regions, dense jungles, vast oceans. Earth is classified as a Class 9 death world, Vexel continued. This means it has extreme environmental challenges. Only 3% of known habitable worlds are Class 9 or higher. Most species evolve on Class 3 to Class 5 worlds, stable, temperate, relatively safe. The image changed to show various Earth predators, lions, sharks, crocodiles, bears, wolves. Earth has an unusually high number of apex predators. In most ecosystems, there are one or two dominant predator species. Earth has dozens. This created intense evolutionary pressure. Species had to adapt or die. Humans adapted. Grand Admiral Thule stepped forward. His forearms crossed over his chest. What concerns us is not just that humans are predators. Many species have predatory ancestors. What concerns us is the type of predator. Humans are persistence hunters with tool-using intelligence. This combination has never been documented in a spacefaring species before. He gestured and the hologram changed to show ancient humans hunting. Persistence hunting requires specific biological adaptations. Efficient cooling through sweat glands, spring-loaded tendons for running efficiency, separated breathing from stride rhythm, but most importantly, it requires psychological adaptations. Patience, focus, the ability to suppress immediate gratification for long-term success. These are the same traits that make humans excellent strategists, negotiators, and engineers. The auditorium was silent. Thousands of students listened intently. Thule continued. The Council has debated reclassifying humans as a Class 2 predator species with potential security restrictions. However, we have decided against this. A wave of surprised murmurs went through the crowd. Thule held up one hand for silence. We have decided against it because of one crucial factor: choice. Humans evolved as apex predators, yes, but they chose to evolve beyond that. They developed agriculture, ending the need for hunting. They developed laws against murder and violence. They created art, music, literature, philosophy. They built civilizations based on cooperation, not domination. Ambassador Kelvin spoke again. Humans had the biological capacity to conquer their world through force. Instead, they conquered it through innovation. They had the endurance to hunt other species to extinction. Instead, they created nature preserves and conservation programs. They had the intelligence to dominate other humans. Instead, they developed democracy and human rights. High Scholar Vexil added, "This is what makes humanity remarkable. Not their capacity for violence, but their capacity to choose peace. Not their ability to hunt, but their decision to protect. They are predators who became guardians. This is unprecedented in galactic history." The hologram changed again, this time showing scenes from human history. Peace treaties, medical missions, disaster relief, scientific collaboration. Since joining the Galactic Council 15 years ago, humans have demonstrated consistent, peaceful behavior. They have shared their technology freely. They have participated in humanitarian missions. They have shown respect for other cultures and species. Thule looked directly at where the humans were sitting. The Council's decision is this: humans will remain classified as they are. No restrictions will be placed on their movement or activities. However, educational materials will be updated to reflect their evolutionary history. It is important that all species understand what humans are, not to fear them but to respect them. Kelvin concluded the assembly. Fear comes from ignorance. Understanding breeds respect. We hope this assembly has helped you understand our human friends better. They are not monsters. They are survivors who chose a better path. That deserves our admiration, not our fear. As the assembly ended and students began to leave, something changed. Some students still looked at the humans with caution, but others approached them with curiosity instead of fear. Some asked questions. Some thanked them for the rescue missions humans had participated in across the galaxy. Some simply nodded with respect. Bora's skin glowed with warm colors. "That went better than I expected," she said. Jiwoo smiled. "The truth usually does." She looked around at the diverse crowd of alien students. Humanity had passed a test they did not even know they were taking. And they had passed it not by being strong or fierce, but by being honest about what they were and what they chose to become. The classroom was huge. Jiwoo sat near the back and looked around at all the different alien students. Some had feathers. Some looked like they were made of crystal. Some floated in special suits filled with gas. There were so many different types of beings from so many different worlds. And then there were the three humans sitting together, Jiwoo, Taemin, and Hiran. Jiwoo could hear the whispers. The other students talked about humans like they were not there. They said humans were primitive. They said Earth was barely space-capable. They said humans had no real achievements in the galaxy. Some students laughed quietly. Others just stared with curiosity like humans were exotic pets. Taemin leaned over and whispered to Jiwoo, "Just ignore them. They will understand eventually." Hiran, the youngest of the three, looked nervous. Her hands gripped the edge of her desk tightly. Jiwoo reached over and touched her shoulder gently. "It's okay," she said quietly. "We belong here just as much as they do." At the front of the classroom, Instructor Velthar began to speak. He was tall and looked like a giant insect. His body was covered in a shell that looked like crystal. He had many eyes that could look in different directions at once. His voice was sharp and clear. "Today we will discuss fear," Velthar said. "Fear is universal. Every species in this galaxy has fear. It is an evolutionary tool that keeps us alive. Fear tells us when danger is near. It tells us to run, to hide, to fight. Today you will experience real fear. Today you will meet a Reshtak." The classroom went silent. Jiwoo saw several students shift in their seats. Some of the feathered aliens ruffled their feathers nervously. A small blue student named Bora, who had been friendly to the humans, started to glow dimly with anxiety. Bora's species could show emotions through their skin, and right now her skin was pulsing with worry. "The Reshtak," Velthar continued, "is one of the most dangerous predators in the known galaxy. It comes from a death world called Krivosh Prime. It has survived extinction events. It has hunted species to extinction. It is fear-made flesh." The doors at the side of the classroom opened. Guards walked in wearing heavy armor. They were pushing a large container that glowed with energy fields. Inside the container was something dark and massive. As it came into the light, Jiwoo could see it clearly. The Reshtak was terrifying. It stood 8 feet tall even though it was slightly crouched. Its body was covered in black scales that looked like polished stone. It had 6 eyes that glowed with a dim red light. Its claws were long and curved, currently retracted but still visible. When it breathed, Jiwoo could see rows of sharp teeth. The creature looked like every nightmare combined into one living thing. Many students gasped. Some stood up and moved toward the exits. Velthar held up one of his long arms. You may leave if you cannot handle this lesson. But understand that fear is something you must learn to face. In the galaxy, there are many dangerous things. Running will not always save you. Several students left quickly. The feathered ones flew toward the doors. Some of the smaller species practically ran. Bora stayed, but her glow became brighter with fear. When the room settled, Velthar's many eyes turned toward the human section. He looked directly at Jiwoo. And what about our human students? Velthar asked. His voice had a mocking tone. Will you stay? Or will you run back to your primitive world? Jiwoo felt Taemin tense beside her. She knew he wanted to say something angry. But Jiwoo stayed calm. She looked at Velthar with steady eyes and said nothing. She simply did not move. Hiren was shaking slightly, but she also stayed in her seat. We are not leaving, Taemin said firmly. Velthar made a sound that might have been approval or might have been amusement. It was hard to tell with his species. Very well, Velthar said. Let me explain what you are seeing. The Reshtak hunts by sensing electromagnetic fields. It can detect fear through chemical signals. It reads the biology of its prey and knows exactly when to strike. It is intelligent far more than most predators. And it is currently sedated, so you are safe. Mostly. Velthar began to walk around the classroom. The guards moved the containment field with him. The Reshtak moved slowly inside its prison. Its 6 eyes scanned the room constantly. Jiwoo watched it carefully. She noticed how it moved. Calculating, patient, aware of everything around it. Predators select the weakest prey, Velthar lectured. They look for signs of injury, fear, or hesitation. They are efficient. They do not waste energy on strong targets when weak ones are available. This is survival. This is nature. As Velthar approached the human section, he slowed down. The Reshtak's container moved closer. Jiwoo could now see the creature in detail. She could see the texture of its scales, the way its muscles moved under its skin, the intelligence in its eyes. She had seen predators before. Back on Earth, she had tracked mountain leopards through the Korean wilderness. She had watched bears and wolves. She knew how predators thought. The Reshtak's 6 eyes suddenly focused on her. All of them. The creature stopped moving. Its head tilted to one side like it was studying something it did not understand. Then something strange happened. The Reshtak took a step backward inside its container. Its scales rippled in a way that looked like alarm. The classroom went completely silent. Even Velthar stopped talking. He looked at the creature with confusion. What is wrong with it? One student whispered. The Reshtak made a low rumbling sound. The translator devices everyone wore struggled to interpret it. Then a single word came through, spoken in a voice that sounded ancient and terrified. No. Velthar's expression changed. His crystalline body shifted colors slightly, which Jiwoo had learned meant confusion in his species. What do you mean, no? He asked the creature. You are sedated. You are contained. There is nothing to fear here. But the Reshtak kept staring at Jiwoo. Its claws extended involuntarily. Its breathing became faster. The guards looked at each other nervously. One of them checked the containment field readings. The field is stable, the guard reported. But the creature's stress levels are rising rapidly. Velthar ordered the guards to bring the container closer to the humans. Let us see what is causing this reaction, he said. The guards hesitated but obeyed. They pushed the container until it was only 3 meters away from where Jiwoo sat. The Reshtak pressed itself against the far side of the container. Its scales flattened against its body, which Jiwoo recognized as a defensive posture. Animals did this when they felt threatened. When they were afraid. The translator crackled with more words from the creature. Persistence hunter. Endurance killer. No escape. They never stop. They never stop. They never stop. The words repeated like a mantra, like a warning passed down through generations. The entire class stared in shock. This was impossible. The Reshtak was an apex predator. It feared nothing. It was the thing that other creatures feared. And yet here it was. trembling before a human girl who had done nothing but sit quietly and watch. Bora spoke up, her voice shaking. I can feel its emotions. I am empathic. This is not just fear. This is recognition. It knows what she is, or what her species is. Velthar turned to look at Jiwoo with new eyes. What are you? He asked. Jiwoo stood up slowly. She did not make any sudden movements. She did not smile or show aggression. She simply stood and looked at the Reshtak with calm, steady eyes. Her eyes were positioned on the front of her head like all predators. They were focused and patient. She had the gaze of something that hunted, that tracked, that waited. The Reshtak shuddered. Its voice came through the translator again, and this time it was clear and desperate. Please, I want to leave. Please let me leave. The most feared predator in the galaxy was begging to escape from a 19-year-old human girl who had done nothing but stand up and look at it. In that moment, the entire galaxy's understanding of humanity began to change.